Hill. And Jay's joined us as well. She's in the background at the moment. You're in the background at the moment, Jay, so we can't see you just yet. But it's good to hear. It's good to see that you're here. Nod for me if you want to join right now, so you can just quickly get in on this news story. Oh, excellent! There we are. Look, so Jay Hill, welcome along to the show.
Hello,
hi guys.
Jay, we're literally just wrapping up the news here, but yeah, essentially we're just covering the news that Purple Disco Machine is cancelling some of his upcoming shows due to severe tinnitus and hearing loss. What is your thoughts on the idea of tinnitus? Like, for example, if anyone's listening or watching that is like, teenager or in their mid-20s, they go clubbing a lot, but they're not protecting their ears. What are you saying to them?
Well, twofold. So one, I actually had a boss that would talk about, like, every time that he went to a great show, he was like, I had tinnitus for days and it was awesome.
What's horrible?
Yeah, and I'll never forget that. And I was like, he just loved it, but it is, if you're whatever age you are, it is important to protect your ears and, invest in a pair of, I don't know, I think they're like $75 here in the US. You can get like custom earplugs. You can go raving and not worry about it. And so, I don't know. Severe tinnitus is probably, the poor guy is suffering like some serious issues. So
yeah, absolutely.
And
I tell you what, Jay, you came just in time, just to say that. What excellent advice! Perfect timing. Yeah, it's folks. Let's just say, the message here is like keep. That's the other thing as well, Dave. You'll just quickly mention it as well. Obviously, people think you hear it. Like your hearing's just like it's there. Don't worry about it. It's always been fine. No, it's not.
Well,
your hearing's not fine.
Yeah, I think we nerd out about it because we rely on them so much, in the studio and stuff. And we try and dissect frequencies and production techniques. People that don't do any of that, they just think, that's just my ears, isn't it? And then they're not hypercritical of like their ears like we are. But after, when it's too late, it's too late, isn't it?
No, like once it's gone, there's no getting a new pair of ears unless you.
Right.
That's the key. You've only got 2 pairs of these bloody things, these bloody ears. So you got to be very careful. You ain't got no more.
Ears here as well.
Yeah, Dave. Let's just say it's not like that. It's not like that Windows Media Player custom thing that we saw where you got like 6 speakers on the ears.
Yeah, man. I want ears like that. Come on, let's do
it. Dave, for this interview, I'm going to remove you. But you're still here. You're more than welcome to stay here and chip in if you would like. But I've got you in the background. Can you still speak? Speak for me now. Oh, okay. You are actually muted. Okay. But you are actually in the background, but we can't actually hear you. Because obviously I'm going to take over and do Jay's interview. You're more than welcome to stay, and you're more than welcome to leave. You can do either or, but we're going to have you there just for the time being. Because we've only got 45 minutes to interview Jay Hill. And actually, before we start this interview, there was something I wanted to quickly check, and a way of sort of like starting the interview. Very, very briefly, for those who are watching and listening, who's Jay Hill? Like, who's that on our screen? Jay Hill, electronic music creator and selector, founder of People of the Light Records, and has got releases on Hot Creations, Super Frequency Recordings, I'm assuming that would be, King Street, Lucid Flow, and I Records. And to start us off with your interview, I want to start by just showing you this post that I came across, and I'm just going to lead into some of the questions I was going to ask you. So
right.
This is courtesy of EDM Music on Instagram, and this is 15 of the most iconic DJ booths of all time. I'm going to quickly run you through some of these.
Yeah.
But what we've got here is Paradise Garage, New York. Studio 54, New York. Ministry of Sound, London. Pasha Ibiza, Heartbreak Disco, New York, Fabric London, Trezor Berlin. I'm sure Dave can attest to that as well. Club Zanzibar, Newark, New Jersey. Funhouse, New York. Music Box, Chicago. Twilo, New York. Stereo, Montreal. Sound Factory, New York. Bond Casino, New York. The Warehouse, Chicago. Oh, that's all of them. So basically, if I can, out of the 15, 1, 2, 3, 4. Does Newark count?
Newark is very close to New York, so
let's say yeah. I think they're being pedantic there. But 5,
close enough.
6, 7, 8. Yeah, so 8 out of 15 DJ booths are all considered or based in New York City.
Yeah,
and obviously, you know, a lot of these famous DJ booths are all we're actually predominantly all in the NYC, and I did want to start with that and your connection to the New York City clubbing scene, because you've played countless times in and around the city. How do you feel this city has changed in its nightlife? Is it better or worse, in your opinion?
Yeah. So, firstly, I just want to say I am surprised that they didn't put Cielo, New York in that list, because that is, from my perspective, one of the best. I mean, probably more in the modern day DJ booths of all time. It was absolutely incredible. Function One Silvers in the booth.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and club and and DJ booth alike. By far, that is one of the best DJ booths I've ever played at in my entire life. So, so I'm surprised about that. But
how would you describe that booth though? Is it like very high up, very low?
No, you know,
tiny?
It was, it wasn't so high up to where you felt like the DJ was, so far away from the dance floor. That actually wasn't, but it also wasn't like right at the ground level. So you could see the crowd, and the crowd was in a box, like a small square box, and in the meatpacking district in New York City. And when you got into that box, whether you were a dancer or whether you were just, enjoying the music, you were just like surrounded by it. You couldn't help but like just be engulfed by that experience. And so actually, the DJ booth was a close experience to being in that dance floor. But it was small, but like there was nothing like being on that dance floor in and of itself, so but it was cool that at least from the DJ booth you could see what was happening with the crowd, because you've got to,
it's like premium crowd reading experience.
Exactly. Yeah.
You could literally look and see what people are liking, and probably everything. Like what they had for dinner.
Yeah, and what
they're all thinking.
But then you're like, shit, I want to be there, because they're I'm working.
Be about two places at once. My goodness.
Yeah. So it's that. Yeah. So I was surprised that it wasn't there, but yeah. So for my experience, it was just absolutely incredible and iconic. So, but yeah. So as far as the scene has changed so much since because I actually had moved from California, where I'm originally from LA, and moved to New York in 2010 to pursue my music dreams. And the scene at that time was absolutely on fire. It was just it was like nothing else. Clubs, so many clubs in Manhattan and underground, and there was a iconic club called National Underground, and in that club is where I got my, I learned everything about music, and I think the capacity was maybe 70 people and there was like a hole in the middle. People would bump into it all the time, but it it was just like I just learned so much from those nights, and things really did change and morph over the years. And so when all of the Manhattan clubs, like the big ones, the Twilo, the Love, the Poisson Rouge, and what else? Limelight, all of those started, closing and shutting down, and then parties ended up moving to Brooklyn. Everything changed, like the Manhattan scene then became, lost its vibrancy, even though there still is some incredible clubs there. But it just changed the vibe, of New York City scene a lot. And but then, once, the Brooklyn, popularity came through, it opened a whole new door of all of these, warehouses and warehouse parties, and then that turned into massive venues and such. And so it just opened, and the after scene, I think, then really blew up because, but it just created a challenge for New York City, because then all of the clubs that were in, New York, if you were going to afters in Brooklyn, it's a long haul. Brooklyn's can be, quite far. And at 3-4 o'clock in the morning. And then, for the Jersey people, that was like, you're in it for the weekend. So
imagine
kind of a situation.
All the cab drivers are like, oh yeah, they all gotta go home. I wanted to ask you actually, in regards to the latest edition, actually, and of course, we get over here, we get dribs and drabs of news about things that open up and close down in New York. But obviously, the one reaching us from across over here is about Pasha, or Pachar, as some people have described it, or they call it that, returning to New York City, and they're taking over the Brooklyn Mirage, which we have extensively covered because that's had a really wild history of reopening again. What's your quick opinion on that?
So since I actually moved to Philly in 2017, that venue has been shut down, reopened, shut down, and reopened. I'm gonna say at least 12 times. And
wow.
Yeah. And
like a freaking death trap. I hope Skrillex doesn't go there, right, Dave? Because of course we literally covered that before, where there's like a lawsuit about him jumping into a crowd. But anyway, regardless of that.
When it started, and it was actually just the City Fox parties that started there, it was super cool. It was really underground. It was, very it wasn't the Brooklyn Mirage then. It was just a warehouse, but they, had permit issues, this, that, and the other. And I kind of, at this point, I don't get it. Like, Brooklyn is also so big, and it is in proximity closer to New York, to Manhattan. So I can get why they, want to keep it there. But at a certain point, it's just like, okay, let's just move on, and find another, so I kind of, but, I mean, people, it has transformed into a massive venue over the years, and multi-room and everything. And like back when I started raving there, it was just one room, one warehouse. So it just, I don't know, Yeah, it's like, I mean, I get it. It is a beautiful outdoor space, but I just kind of think, well, it like if it's going to continue and you keep, because I think like Black Coffee had I think last summer, like a residency there that was supposed to be like, at least once a month or every weekend or something. And then poof, like was gone. So, whereas there's other venues that have have permits or whatever. So I think too that, the losses have to be massive.
Yeah, and it's a very interesting point as well, and I think the other thing as well is the emphasis of Pasha being there in Brooklyn. You've mentioned that a lot of clubs that opened up in Brooklyn back in the day were all sort of grassroots, taking over warehouses, very underground. Pasha barging into the New York scene and taking over the Brooklyn Mirage, this absolutely huge behemoth courtyard. Very much like Ushuaia and Ibiza, to be honest. But would you say it's they are literally just capitalizing on this? And do you think it will change things again?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think they actually had tried to open a club in Brooklyn, I think more South Brooklyn, like many years ago. And it flopped. And also Sankey's did too, and it flopped. And
yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, if they can somehow differently come in and get through all of the residual bad karma, whatever they've had going on for the past, I don't know, 12, 13 years with this back and forth stuff.
Let's just hope there's not a 13th time it's closing down.
Yeah.
Let's hope.
Yeah. I personally, I won't book tickets there as just a raver because I'm not confident that the show is going to go on, so like, and it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That, they're charging. So for each night, it's not like it's, was like $25-$30 like it used to be, but now it's like a couple hundred, I think, per ticket. So yeah, it's just, so
that's quite a bit.
So it'd be a huge investment to go. I would need to see probably like a year or two of consistency. I don't know. Before I did. Yeah. So.
Or essentially, when we covered it, me and Dave were basically saying we'd probably go as long as they've got their health and safety thing sorted out, because obviously that was what a lot of the issues were when they were trying to open up previously. But just in regards to how clubbing is in Brooklyn and what have you, do you think, in your opinion, it's gotten harder or easier to try and get gigs in New York City and the Brooklyn area?
I think, well, it's interesting because People of the Light did our first New York City label party in Brooklyn last December. And I'm shocked it came together because I was expecting a lot of kind of the same that I had experienced many years entrenched in the New York scene, booking parties and the whole thing. I think it's not impossible, but I definitely think it's, they say in Hollywood that for all the actors, like to get local, and I think that is kind of the key because, New Yorkers, they want to like, either you are a big name from somewhere else that people will readily recognize. And if you're not, you either need to like know a club owner, a couple of promoters, and probably, I mean, it takes quite a bit, but, New Yorkers, I think, are very much like they need to see you to believe you, believe that you're there. And so it's very hard to get bookings from overseas. I mean, it's even hard to get bookings for people that, you know, for some of our artists that live there, that have been in the scene. Me being an hour and 45-minute drive away, which is pretty close. But, you know, I am super happy that we were able to do the People of Light label night there. We found a really cool club. It was just a lot of fun. You know, there's not a lot of financial rewards.
Yeah.
But I think as long as you accept that, you know, and, you know, I think it's a tricky line that's drawn when you are approaching clubs or promoters or whatnot. There, you know, if you kind of come in and you're like, this is my mandatory DJ fee, that might create another layer. Or if you've got a booking agent that is requiring a lot of fees, that's going to be another hurdle, you know, unless you are that really big name that is going to assuredly sell out the night. So
yeah, and or what you could do is you could, for the next POTL party, you could just take a leaf in the tree of Pasha, $100 ticket entry. Oh yeah, you are so making money after that.
Yeah.
I do want to quickly jump on what you mentioned as well about obviously your commuting distance, because as you do live in Philly or Philadelphia, how does that city compare to New York City in terms of its nightlife?
It's a great question. You know, it is Philly is a micro scene, but it is a scene with deep roots in electronic music. Josh Wink, King Britt, Ursula Rucker, who we've been really blessed to work with. Oh my God, I'm Rich Medina. I could go on and on and on. You've got major deep roots in Philly. So it really has its own vibe. And it's a little bit less, I think, intense than New York, or and definitely not as pressured as far as, like, you know, when you're DJing, like, you've got to have, you know, 50 people coming through the door, and, you know, out of those people, they need to have spent, you know, whatever, 3 drinks minimum, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And that you have in New York City. I mean, I think there used to be that a little bit here, but it's nothing to the degree. So that was also kind of the appeal for me to move here, also with getting my own studio, whereas in Brooklyn, I was sharing a studio with several people. So, and it being a little bit cheaper here, but still being quick enough to be able to get to New York. I mean, if you get on a train, you can be there in, you know, on the fast train in 50 minutes or something. So
And I'll tell you, well, that's a very rare thing for any American to say, that you can actually get on a train and go somewhere as well.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Yeah, because I've often thought that you know, where obviously because Philly is in such close proximity to New York's taken all of the limelight. But you know, I'm aware that very interesting music scene. So far, obviously, you know, we have been talking about DJ gigs and so on, but I wanted to dive a little bit into all the things that you are currently doing, because if I've got this right, we can count this up now. You're a DJ, you're a producer, you're a label owner, and you have a day job, and you're a dog mom as well.
Yes.
How many PAs do you have? Surely, like, come on.
Yeah.
How do you manage your time? Like that's a lot of juggling.
It is a lot. But you know what? I think over the years, I found a groove to it. And I've found a flow, and I think the way that really works for me, well, first of all, what has helped immensely is that I do my day job from here, my music studio, and I've done so since the pandemic. So that has allowed me flexibility to be able to kind of, work some things if I need to, if I need to do some music things throughout the day. But my personality, though, really is I like to shut off my workday before I kind of dive into music, and whatever capacity I'm doing, whether I'm, doing something for the label, or I'm working on my productions or DJ sets or whatever. And the puppy is here with me all day. So that's cool.
So the puppy is the PA.
Yes.
Okay. I see how it is. Yeah. Maybe I need to get a PA like that as well. Yeah, very interesting insight. And also, yeah, you're kind of in the same boat as me, because I also have a day job, and although I'm not fully remote, I can work from here, which it definitely has its pros and cons. What I also wanted to mention as well, just so as we've now got an idea of the working lifestyle of Jay Hill, before we get into some nerdy production stuff, if we've got a wee bit of time for it, I do want to mention, and just bear with me here as I do this analogy, but in Star Wars, Luke Skywalker's teacher and mentor is Yoda. Is Sid Vega your Yoda?
Oh man, yes.
Yes. Excellent. And if Sid is your Yoda, is Christian Larson your Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Very much so.
Oh, excellent. And then, so if that's been the case, then can I be the R2D2?
Yes.
I'm going a bit too deep for the analogy here, but you get my drift.
And I am pretty sure that George Lucas has owned a Shih Tzu in his life.
Whoa! This analogy is going like mental right now. That's incredible.
I have an Ewok.
That's brilliant. But to go back to Sid and or Christian, but I will stick with Sid first. Yeah. How much does he influence your own music and or production methods?
Yeah, that is such a great question. Well, first, I have to say, I mean, Sid, he is very, very meaningful in my life. I mean, he's probably one of the most important influences that I've ever had. And what's interesting is because, I actually used to sit and like watch him in the DJ booth or outside the DJ booth at Cielo. And I just, he blew me away, his skill sets, just as far as, I mean, skill set, that's not the right, that sounds like too corporate for him, but he's an absolute master with vinyl. And he eventually taught me how to spin on vinyl, and really, but I kind of had a few, some basic understanding from, I know some things back in my original DJ learning days, but he like having somebody that can show you hands-on, I think these days is something that is priceless, because he, it was like, oh no, you scratch the record like this, you don't touch this, you do this, you do, whereas, and I think at one point, like, he literally took my hand and was like, this is how you do it, and so, and that just shows, I think, his patience, his kindness, and
and this was whilst it was all in Cielo as well.
Well, no, I think he taught me like his apartment or something, but I also, what I learned from him, from watching him, is how he just flawlessly directed the crowd and took it where he wanted them to go. And he knew his record so well. And of course, like at first, and it still is overwhelming when you think about it and you think of the volume of records that, you know, the catalog that you need to have to know every single, you know, A track and B track, and, you know, and
it's
so
all up there.
Is all up there. Yeah. And he really taught me this essential skill of training your ears, you know, and I think that's also something that you know, that is missing today, because like we're looking for a number to beat match and this, that, and the other. And like this guy was like, no, here's 2 records and you're going to beat match them. and yeah, and you've got no numbers here. This is you're just, yeah. So yeah,
making me nervous already hearing that.
So, and I kind of feel like you know, that and the vinyl DJs from, you know, from that era don't get enough credit for just that, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, so and then from there, was really cool is that then over the years, you know, I went to audio engineering school in New York, and then you know, things just started flowing and changing, and we it's kind of like mind-blowing to think about how all the dots connected with he and I, you know, just going from the DJ side of things. And then we played gigs together and absolutely had a blast. Such good times playing with Sid. And then to the production side, I also was just blown away at how deeply talented he is with, you know, with crafting productions and being able to be, you know, to give very, very specific feedback. Like, oh, I would do, you know, I would raise it to 500 hertz or whatever, or I would add a really cool, you know, percussion, and, you know, and just the way that he's just has, I think he has the most golden ears of, you know, of anybody that I know.
We got to protect him at all costs, I swear.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
From one producer to another, I will definitely also say specific feedback is absolutely golden.
Yeah. You know, and like somebody that will take the time, and it's always positive, and it's never going to be, you know, a criticism or anything. It's just like, here's what I would do to make it a little bit better, or, you know, or maybe even say like, you know, oh, this definitely needs work, and I'm like, yeah, you're right, you know. So
yeah, I'll definitely say that. Yeah, we all love Sid here, especially now. Even Dave loves him, and he doesn't. And no, we're all big fans of Sid Vega. So shout out to him, especially if he tunes in. I hope he does. All comments are going to be flooding for him. In regards to production, I've heard that you are working on an album. Do you want to tell us about it, or is this a bit too top secret for you?
No, it's not top secret at all. I am working on it. It is moving very slowly. I think I just completed 3 tracks, and but it's a challenge that I wanted to give to myself, because I've always, I think, produced one. Well, I only produce 1 track at a time. I'm not one of those people that can have a bunch of ideas on the desktop. You know, with the way that my brain works, I have to finish what I start, essentially. And so it's just, regardless the amount of time that it takes, that's what I have to do. So, but I'm just letting it flow organically, and there's no pressure with it. I haven't even decided, like, if I intend to like shop it, or if I'm going to release it on People of the Light or whatever, but it's just like something I want to do for myself. And so it's generally more, more on the techno side, but it's also going to have some electronica.
And do you know something as well? It's not very common for a lot of artists to say that they have an album. Releases and singles, yes, but an album is the next hurdle, so to speak. But how many tracks are you going to have? Do you know yet?
I think that I'm going to probably go for 10 seems really overwhelming to me. And so I kind of thought, maybe I'm going to go for 6 or 7, and then that leaves room for like some remixes, and then we'd have 10. So, but it's just because sometimes like these days, and being that I have to make music when I'm, when my head is clear, when everything is kind of, to force it it doesn't work. Yeah. And that's the lesson I've learned time and time again. So I think, I'm just going to kind of keep going. I've got the next one in mind, and we'll see how that one comes together. And I'm kind of just take one at a time.
It's very exciting times. And I tell you what, don't forget that idea, because that's the worst thing for me. If I have an idea in here, I might forget it. It's very common.
Yeah.
I do want to quickly, because we've only got 10 minutes to go, but I do want to quickly move on to very quickly about the label POTL as well, or People of the Light Records as the long word. Can I quickly ask, how did you come up with the name of the label?
Great question. I actually, I saw, there's like this little museum that's over here in Pennsylvania, random museum in the middle of kind of nowhere. And I think I had taken my niece there and was trying to make her learn about art, and and she was really bored, and so I was trying to I don't know, just teach her some stuff. Anyway, I saw this beautiful painting, and the title of it was People of the Light. And and I actually kind of struggled at first with taking the name, but then somebody said, well, that would actually be, you're not naming your exact artwork that same title, so it's kind of but it would be a great, label for the name, or the name for the label. And I actually had a couple different ideas that I tossed by friends, and that was the one that stuck. And so
that's well, do you know what, that was a question I had generally for the interview, but that was also just for my own curiosity. So I'm glad I actually got that as well, just because it did make me think for a while. And in regards to POTL, there is a question I had here. Oh yeah, guys, we've only got 10 minutes to go. Tell us a little bit about the near future projects over at POTL. Is there anything that you would like to? Is there anything that you would like to mention? Yeah. There's something in my eye. No, there isn't.
Yes, we have a very special next release coming up for POTL number 20. We are going to be releasing our very first compilation. And this is the first time I'm sharing it. And you and I talked about this a year ago, running around in London. It was just an idea then. It was definitely just an idea. And now it's actually manifesting. And without going in too deep, it is taking a little bit longer to come together because because basically it's going to be a representation of the best best of the best.
Yeah.
The all stars of sorts, but it has been impossible to come up with the best of the best, because in my eyes they are all supreme, and all 75 tracks that we have released thus far have been, from my perspective, absolutely incredible, and they've like made us to what we are today. So it's a bit of a tribute, to all of you artists that have been a part of the last 7 years now. So I can't.
You could have the compilation album. Like the name could be something about light, because it's obviously it's a POTL release, People of the Light. So like, I don't know, light bulbs. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not for names.
It's been so hard to come up with a title for it. It's been so hard to come up with the best of each release. But what I've conceded to do, even though I'm not a numbers chaser at all in music, this is the one time that I am letting the numbers decide which, because otherwise I can't choose, so it's like the best sellers of each release, and that's what it's going to be. So I'm super excited about it, and I'm very excited that you're going to be a part of it, obviously with all of your contributions, and so
yeah, I'm also looking forward to it as well, and I'm going to squeeze in this other question, if you can give me an answer of like of a minute's worth or 2 minutes worth, because I've actually skipped through tons of questions. I've made far too many for you, but one of the questions I wanted to quickly ask you were the challenges of managing and having your own label that other people may not even know about.
Yeah,
I'll give you 2 minutes to answer that
question. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, oh man, this is a hard one to fit in 2 minutes. I did not know exactly what I was getting myself into. At first it was just going to be a label for me to release my own music and my own back catalog, but then that got boring. I'm like, I don't want it just to be my own music, and I'm it's not Person of the Light, it's People of the Light. So but the biggest challenges are finding the people who need to, the distributors, the promotional companies, the artists, all the behind the scenes, not vendors, but all of those people, for me, it hasn't been like, oh, I'm just going to, hire them. I've discovered over the years that no, if I am going to, sign into a new distribution deal, or I'm going to work with a new, press company or whatever, I want them to be behind the label and what we're about. And we are not a high volume, high quantity label at all. That doesn't feel right. We release music when it comes together, and when it, is everything kind of, like just when everything comes together. It's never on a forced timeline. And I think people in the industry want you to be high volume and fast volume, and some of those people are like, well, okay, well, if you give us enough money, we'll work for you. But that doesn't fit right with me. The people that I've found that I work with over the years are behind the label. They really get behind the music and give feedback. And it's not just a, for hire type situation. So I think that is navigating through, all of that and being able to, but if you're a high volume label that does a release every month or whatever, and you don't have the same kind of approach that I do, which is totally fine. There are, it's just for us, what is right is like the people that are excited about the label. And what doesn't feel right to me is when, people may treat us like, just another label or whatever. But, the vision is eventually to continue to do the releases, but continue with the label nights and bringing artists in, into those, and being a family of artists, really, and not like releasing tracks and stuff like that. And it kind of, so
I think that's definitely the way. I think that's always a nice way to sort of envision a label, is to be more of like a family. I'll definitely say a very strange family, but definitely a family.
But when people that what I love is like two of our artists in Detroit who didn't know each other before. Actually, one lives probably about in Grand Rapids, about an hour and a half or 2 hours from Detroit. They drove to one of their gigs and met up in person and hung out and partied together. And I saw the photos and I almost got in tears,
when the dots join, we absolutely love that. And I can see we've got only we've got about 30 seconds, so I'm going to try and wrap this all up fairly quickly. Jay Hill, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast. Before you go, and if anyone's wondering, don't worry, I've got it covered. If you want to check out Jay Hill, you can find her on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and SoundCloud. You can find her on Facebook, which is at Lady J Hill. Instagram is Le J Hill. YouTube is at J Hill. And then on SoundCloud, it is J Nerf. And then you can also find her on Beatport as just the artist as J Hill, or you can find out the label, which is on Beatport as well, just by searching for People of the Light. And then you can also find out the Instagram account of POTL, which is at We Are POTL. And I guess I should plug our own as well. And of course.